today.
She really crashed her head into the wall.
My daughter has a severe form of Tourette's.
My tics are bad.
Your tics are bad today?
Please help me.
They're fighting to save their daughter.
My son is afraid of his sister.
Sarah, don't!
And their family.
She just destroys anything that's around.
She asks me if she'll get better, and I say I don't know.
Today we're talking about two mothers facing unthinkable situations with their children. One is a celebrity mom who finds herself living in her very own Lifetime movie. The other is a mother battling to save her daughter from herself. Take a look at just 20 seconds of what it is like living with 12-year-old Sarah.
This is Sarah. She's kicking us and beating the crap out of us. She says her tics are bad.
It's not what we need.
No, she's headbanging. Sarah, ouch!
Now imagine dealing with that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, erupting at any time for the past 10 years. Now we're going to talk to Sarah and her family later in the show, but first, actress Kelly Rutherford. She is facing every parent's worst nightmare, a bitter custody battle with someone who now lives nearly 5,000 miles away in another country. She says the fight has left her heartbroken and bankrupt.
Gossip Girl star Kelly Rutherford's bitter custody battle.
Kelly Rutherford said she's been reduced to a visitor in her children's lives.
This, the latest in a several years-long custody battle with ex-husband Daniel Giersch.
Giersch is a citizen of Germany, and after his visa was revoked, he can no longer enter the U.S. So in order for them to maintain a 50-50 caretaking split, the judge ruled the children, both American citizens, must stay in France.
I will never stop fighting for my children. They're my babies.
How did this happen? Your children are now 5,000 miles away in a foreign country, correct?
Correct.
How did you get from where you were to where you are?
That's a good question. I'm still mystified myself. They're U.S. citizens. They were born in the United States. My ex and I were married in the United States. I'm a U.S. citizen. They have U.S. passports. They were in school in the U.S. So we don't know. We were just in federal court asking for relief there because, you know, children don't have rights in family court.
Okay, now, as I understand it, when this custody, when the divorce came about,
yes,
of course, there had to be a custody proceeding to decide what was going to happen with the children.
Right.
And your husband is German.
Correct.
Your ex-husband is German. Now, he's not a U.S. citizen. He doesn't have dual citizenship. He's not a U.S. citizen.
No, he's not.
So you're a citizen, your kids are a citizen. He's not a citizen. His visa was canceled.
Yes.
The court said 50-50.
Correct.
Joint and physical custody. But because he can't come into the U.S., in order to exercise his physical custody, the children have to be in now France?
Yes, taken out of their home, away from their primary caregiver, taken out of school early to be sent to a foreign country in which none of us have any connection to whatsoever.
So we have U.S. citizens that have been ordered to reside outside the country in France.
Correct.
Has Daniel done anything to reestablish his immigration status in the United States?
I have a letter from the Department of State saying that he has not applied. And he told the court, and the whole point was, you make good faith efforts to get back into the U.S., and we're going to send the children over there. I was court-ordered to help him get a visa, to write a letter on his behalf. He was not court-ordered to actually apply.
Yeah. Now, I don't practice anymore, but during the time that I did, I did a year's postdoctoral training in forensic psychology and worked as a forensic psychology in the courts, often trying to make determinations of custody and fittedness of parents. And there was one cardinal rule that trumped everything else. And that was what was in the best interest of the children.
Correct.
Have you been evaluated by, I said forensic psychology, have you been evaluated?
Oh, yes, many times.
And what did they determine in terms of your fitness as a mother?
They said I was a great mom and I would have primary custody because of the ages. You know, they were 2 and 5.
Right.
And we had already he had requested, I think it was like 3 evaluations before that. Because there'd be an evaluation that said this mother should have primary custody, and then he'd fight it, or, you know, whatever.
So how is this, in your opinion, affecting your children?
Well, that's why I'm here, because my kids don't have a voice. Most kids don't have a voice in this situation. So they're very confused by the whole thing, and as they get older, they're more confused. So it's very perplexing. We just don't understand it. They love their dad. You know, and I've always wanted them to have a relationship with their father. I would not have ever wanted it to be this way. So this is challenging for me as a parent, because I want us to co-parent. I want my kids to be okay. And since day one, I waddled into court 4 months pregnant with the 2-year-old, and I said, I don't want any money. I just want what's in the best interest of my kids. Right. So, and to see them you know, having suffered through this has been very challenging.
Do they say they like going to stay with their father?
You know, they love their dad, but they also are confused as to why they're in France. They know they're U.S. citizens. They would like to be with both of us in one place, you know, and the only way to really accommodate that is for him to get his visa renewed.
We asked for Daniel to participate.
Correct.
We asked for a statement. And Daniel's attorney did provide a statement, which reads in part, Daniel continues to put his personal emotions aside and has decided to continue to not engage in any destructive public media campaign. Keeping quiet is sometimes a tough but important responsibility for Daniel in order to protect the party's children. Now, you can read the entire statement at drphil.com. I'm not trying to short shrift it. It's just a longer statement. Does Kelly have any options at this point? Well, we're going to find out. And later, a young girl and a loving family being held hostage by Tourette's syndrome.
She's headbanging.
Sarah will say that she wants to kill herself. Dr. Phil, please help my daughter.
Had the children ever been in France before this? Their entire lives they had lived in New York City.
Yes.
Actress Kelly Rutherford is probably best known for her role on the hit series Gossip Girl. But in recent years, she's been making headlines for the international custody battle she and her ex-husband are engaged in. Now, 2 years ago, Kelly's German ex-husband was deported and no longer allowed to enter the U.S. An American judge ruled that Kelly's children must reside with him in France because Kelly can travel there, but he can't travel here. So with a 50-50 custody order, the only way for that to be in effect, in the court's view, would be for the children to reside there and all the burden of travel, expense, time, everything be on her and sadly on the children. Now, Chelsea Story, one of Kelly's attorneys, is also here today. Chelsea, could you believe this when you got involved and read these proceedings?
No, I could not, Dr. Phil. I was following it before I represented Kelly, and I was blown away. I, like a lot of the people who read it, think perhaps Kelly had done something. Perhaps she was unfit. When I read the documents from the court, by the judge's own account, Kelly is a wonderful mother. By the judge's own account, she has done everything she can to care for these children, being the primary caretaker. We are confused, and we find it very interesting that the children's rights appear to have been completely disregarded, and the best interest was not asserted by the courts when they made their decision to send these U.S. citizen children out of the country.
Yeah, by the way, he's not French. They're not French. Why France? What?
He asked to be in Monaco in France. He's a resident of Monaco, a German citizen and a resident of Monaco.
First of all, let me be very clear. You've said nothing here to disparage him. You're not. You've said he's a good father. Children love him. You don't have any concerns or issues about that, about him being in their lives. Your concern is issue that they have been sent from their home country 5,000 miles away from you, and a tremendous hardship on them and on you as their mother. I mean, that's...
Look, I mean, to put kids through this, is to watch your children go through this is an excruciatingly painful thing. I mean, I look at what the suffering and the pain that my children have been through. And how can you not be a voice for your children and all the other children that are going through this? I mean, that's why I started the Children's Justice Campaign, is I thought at least I can do something with the little bit of fame that I have to get out there and say, you know what, this happened to me, and this is what my children have gone through. And I hope that I can hopefully save a lot of other children from having to go through this.
What is your perfect outcome here? What would you like to see happen?
Well, I'd love to see him get his visa and come back to the U.S. and let's co-parent and be great parents.
So if he would just do that, then this would eliminate a 5,000-mile gap. It would allow your children to grow up and mature in their home country, and allow the two of you to co-parent more actively instead of so remotely. You're hanging in there, and there's a lot of mothers out there screaming at their television sets right now, I'm sure. And I appreciate the fact that you haven't spoken negatively about him, acknowledged that he's a good father. I tell people all the time, you take your disputes to court, you're inviting the government into your lives, and you never know what he or she behind that bench is likely to do.
That's right. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, next, she threatens us on a daily basis. She curses at us constantly. She kicks us, slaps us in the face, punches us in the stomach, and punches herself until her own eyes are swollen shut. That's exactly what our next guest says that their 12-year-old daughter is going through each and every day. We'll be right back.
Oh, she's headbanging.
My 12-year-old daughter, Sarah, she beats us up constantly.
Sarah, ouch!
Cursing and kicking. I'm afraid that she'll take her own life.
I want you to imagine your child being trapped in a body they cannot control. Talking about a body that is racked with violent, involuntary movements, constant outbursts, blood-curdling screams, cries, grunts, and curses. That's exactly what my next guest, Amy, and her husband, Chris, experience on a daily basis with their precious 12-year-old daughter. Take a look.
My 12-year-old daughter, Sarah, has a severe form of Tourette's syndrome. When Sarah first developed tics, she was 2 years old. My daughter displays both physical and verbal tics. With her physical tics, she has jumping. She will fall down on the ground no matter where she is. Her feet are constantly bleeding along with her knees. She'll do things with her arm. If you're in the way, you're going to get hit.
Sarah, ouch!
She does head banging, and she'll just bang into anything, a wall, a TV, the kitchen sink. Cursing and kicking. We all have bruises on our legs. She beats us up constantly. In 3rd grade, Sarah missed about 2 months of school due to a tic that made her bark like a dog. It was loud, like that. And this past year, Sarah missed so much school that she has to repeat 6th grade again.
When I look at Sarah, I feel helpless. I feel that I'm not doing my job as a father.
Sarah will say that she wants to kill herself. She's told me that she doesn't believe in God because there's no way God would treat a child like this. I'm afraid when she reaches middle school that she'll take her own life.
I know that the two of you live with this every day, but I know it's also very difficult to watch, right? I mean, how do you feel when you watch what she's going through?
I hate to watch it. I feel very bad for her. And sometimes we talk about that maybe we shouldn't have even had children because of this.
Okay, Sarah's 12.
Yes.
And you've tried what?
Everything. Different therapies, all kinds of medicine, in and out of different hospitals. Everything. We've been everywhere.
Well, while traveling to be here today, Sarah developed a new tic. Take a look.
I know it hurts, Sarah. I know it hurts there. Okay, I won't touch it.
Okay, so this is something that had not shown up until this trip. And we do know that oftentimes stress and anxiety can exacerbate the expression of the tics and the involuntary movements. Do you think the stimulation of the trip, the moving around, did that have something to do with it? Or do you think it was something else?
I think she was just really stressed and anxious to come here. And we've told her how many times we're going to get help, and then we come home and there's no help. And I think, you know, she's just tired of being let down.
So take me through a day in the life here.
As soon as we wake her up, the tics start, unless it's been a bad night and she's ticked all night through her sleep. So she wears knee pads all the time. For like the last year, she has this jumping tic. And then after a couple times she jumps, she'll go down on the ground, whether it's cement, rocks, anything. So her knees are always swollen and bleeding along with her feet.
This injury to her face came from what?
That was a tic, where she just felt the need to keep doing this to the point. That happened over 24 hours.
Okay, and how about these pictures here where...
That was, she had a bad experience in a hospital, and she came home and started to headbang.
So she's butting her head against the wall.
On everything.
And you say when the outbursts start, is this a 2 or 3 minute tantrum, or is this something that can go much, much longer?
It can go up to an hour.
What happens if there's a weapon around? What happens if there's like a steak knife or a fork or something sharp? What
you get hit with it?
She stabbed us before with forks, a mechanical pencil in my leg. She stabbed her own eye, so she now eats with a spoon. I don't give her anything else.
And I noticed with her head banging, at times it was repetitious, at other times it was a major hit. When we saw her doing that on tape, she really crashed her head into the wall, then hit the wall. I mean, she just destroys anything that's around at the time.
The walls?
Yeah. Next, Sarah isn't the only person in her family struggling with Tourette's syndrome. Plus, the toll this has taken on Sarah's younger brother, Logan. We'll be right back.
Sarah has threatened to kill Logan. She has choked him numerous times.
Sarah, get off of him.
Things have just gotten so bad that I don't know what to do anymore. It's exhausting. We have tried everything.
Well, as I said, Sarah isn't the only person in her family struggling with Tourette's. 2 other people know firsthand what it's like to have the uncontrollable tics, the outburst, and the feelings of shame that seem to go along with the disease. Take a look.
My husband and I also have Tourette's. I was diagnosed with Tourette's around the age of 11. I had 3 tics when I was younger. With my tics, I had eye blinking, and then I had another one where I would open my mouth really big as if to stretch it, and I had to hold it a couple of seconds. And then I also had this where I would snap my wrists. There is no comparison with Sarah. She is worse. By the time I graduated high school, my tics were almost completely gone.
I was diagnosed, I believe I was 6 years old. I'd twitch my head, stretch my neck, stretch my mouth. I'd yell. At one point, my tongue would hang out, and I'd drool. It was very hard to stay focused when I was in school and the kids, they were cruel. By 9th grade, I had quit school. I just couldn't deal with it anymore.
When I look at Sarah and I realize how much more severe she is than I was, and I just feel really bad.
So both of you had this disorder to some degree or another, but never to the level that your daughter's experiencing now, correct?
Exactly.
Knowing that you both had this, did you ever consider what you said, that maybe you shouldn't have had children?
We talked about it, but I've always wanted to have children, and Chris did too. We didn't think it would be this bad, you know. And it supposedly skips generations, so we were hoping to get lucky.
When she said to you that she would rather just die than suffer through this, what do you say to yourself when your daughter says that to you?
I tell her that I understand and that I love her. I just hug her. She asks me if she'll get better, and I say I don't know. And I say I'm trying everything, you know.
Y'all are to the point that it's straining the marriage, which I can certainly understand, just with stress, but that's not really your focus. The marriage is not your focus right now. You're trying to save your daughter's life.
Right.
Sarah has an 8-year-old brother, Logan, and he does not have Tourette's yet, but he suffers right along with Sarah. Let's hear from him what his world looks like.
My son Logan is 8 and is afraid of his sister. From the day he was born, she's really been nasty to him. Sarah has threatened to kill Logan on numerous occasions. She has choked him numerous times. The first time I saw this happen, I came out of the kitchen and she had both her hands around his neck.
Sarah, get off of him. Sarah, don't!
Right away, I'm thinking she could kill him.
Our son Logan, he worries about his sister. The stress is starting to get to him.
With Logan, he has had some tics off and on, not bothering him in any way. And Logan loves his sister so much. The other night, her tics were bad, and she wanted somebody to rub her back and legs. I heard him say, "I love you," and he went up and he did all of that for her until she fell asleep.
Want my sister to get help because she's having a bad life. She's a nice person. I let her play on my tablet. Like the one night I gave her the massage to make her fall asleep.
With Logan being so little, I do feel bad for him because this is his childhood, and I feel like we're missing out on things we could be doing with him.
What a kind young man. He's beginning to show some signs, correct?
Yes.
What are you seeing in him?
He has a spitting tic that he spits on the sidewalk and outside or in the trash can or whatever, and he's got some eye blinking, some little bit of OCD also, I think.
I would like to ask your permission to go back and speak with both of your children for a few minutes. Sure. That's okay with you. I don't ever talk to minors without their parents' permission.
Fine.
All right, next, I want to talk to Sarah and her brother Logan backstage. I'm about to go into the green room to meet first with 12-year-old Sarah, who has struggled with a severe case of Tourette's syndrome since the age of 2. I also want to meet her brother, who has been an unintentional punching bag for his big sister. He's a very brave young man. I want to talk with him as well. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Dr. Phil. How are you?
Good.
Yeah?
My tics are bad.
Your tics are bad today? Do you think if I ask you to do something, you could do it for me? Would you try it? I want you to take a breath, and I want you to breathe in for like 3 seconds. I'll do it like. And then I want you to breathe out for the same amount of time. Good. You did really well. Did you notice that when you were doing that your tick calmed down some?
Not really.
You were almost completely still for those few minutes. I was just seeing if you could do that. If I said some numbers to you, could you say them back to me? Like 461.
461.
Okay, can you now say that backwards?
164.
All right, good. Could you do one more thing for me? Can we try one more thing?
Okay.
What I would like for you to do is put your two fingers together like this. Okay? Okay, now I'd like you to put them like this far apart. And can you look right between them?
Yeah.
And just concentrate on a little spot in space right between your two fingers. And see if you feel them coming together. Just keep looking right at that spot and see if you feel them coming together. Good job. Good job. Good job. Great. Okay. That's interesting to me. I'd like to meet your little brother. Could we have Logan come in for a minute?
Yeah.
Great. I'm Dr. Phil.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
All right. Have a seat. How do you guys get along?
Pretty good sometimes.
Does she ever pick on you?
Sometimes.
Yeah?
No, a lot. Yeah.
Do you pick on him on purpose or not on purpose?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both? Yeah. It's good to meet both of you. I want you to know that we're going to try to work on helping you out and finding some things that we can do to make you feel better. And Logan, I want you to know that because she has some things she has to deal with, that sometimes it can be almost like you're forgotten. But you certainly are not. You're very important to this family. And your mother and father love you a lot. We've interviewed them and talked to them. And they just brag on you. Something terrible. They just think you're a great kid. And I want you to know you're really important to this family, and you're really important to Sarah in us helping this get this all worked out, okay?
Okay.
And we're going to do the best we can to see if we can't get you to feeling a little bit better, okay?
Okay.
Is there anything you'd like to ask me?
Just that you could please help me.
Please help you? Well, let me tell you, I've been working on this for several days, and I think we've got some things we're going to be able to do to help out, okay? Because you deserve that, and I want you to be real calm and real easy.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Thanks a lot. I'm going to go talk to your folks. Logan, thanks. Yep. Sarah, it's so good to meet you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
No.
Well, I was just backstage talking with Chris and Amy's children, Sarah and Logan. You guys watched the interaction. What was your reaction to what you watched?
I thought that what you had her do did slow her ticks down a little bit.
I was checking for a few things. I wanted to know how compliant she could be. I wanted to know how suggestible she was. I wanted to know if she could soothe herself at all with anything that was positively rhythmic, breathing in and out at the same pace.
Right.
And her, just in that few seconds, her tick behavior calmed a lot. Now, I want to add someone to this conversation. He is the chief of neuroradiology for Medical Imaging Center of Southern California. He's the founder and CEO of Smart Brain and Health. I'm talking about Dr. Bradley Jabbour. Brad, can you join us up here, if you would, please? Please welcome Dr. Jabbour. Thank you. Please meet Chris and Amy.
Nice to meet you.
Dr. Jabbour, you have been studying this case for quite some time. We sent you hundreds and hundreds of pages of medical records. You and I have talked. We have met. We have talked. What do you think's going on here?
This is a structural connectivity problem in the orbitofrontal area in the limbic corticostriatal system. A mouthful, but it means that the wires, the computer wires in the brain, some of the computers are firing incorrectly, and some of the wires are not working and conducting the messages properly.
Okay, now one of the things that you are considering is having brain surgery with her, and this involves an implant, but this is a deep brain implant. Can you give us just a few sentences about this surgery, doctor?
The surgery itself requires drilling into the brain, and then through a small incision, a device is placed into the deep mechanisms of the brain, which can be regulated to either stimulate or suppress brain activity.
If you would, step over here with me and don't glaze over. I really want you guys to understand this. What we're seeing here is a three-dimensional image of the brain, right?
Of the brain with the face, so that you can see the surface landmarks.
Right. And then this is a cut through the brain, and it is cut this way, right? If you were cutting this way through the brain, correct?
Yeah.
And what we're seeing with the different colors denote pathways that run in different directions, right?
Correct.
Tell us what the green is front to back.
Yeah, so these are the computer wires in the brain. The green are running front to back, the purple up and down, and the red left to right.
Right. And so this is what, when we're saying this is a brain wiring problem, we're talking, when we say deep implants, at this level. Now, what we have here, if you can talk us through this a little bit, this is a brain that is having abnormal activity in terms of OCD and depression, correct?
Correct.
This area of the brain right here is showing us what?
Well, it's showing hyperconnectivity, the area of the frontal area of the brain where a lot of our mood and ritualistic behavior when it's too active like that. So OCD type symptoms.
When we look at this area over here, this is after what?
After 30 treatments. It took a long time for this to happen, because usually we only treat for 25 treatments. It took 35 treatments, but both the behavior as well as the brain findings both subsided to a point where she became functional.
Okay, now we're going to talk about what that treatment was in a minute, but this was totally non-invasive treatment, correct?
Totally safe, biologically safe, non-invasive.
Nothing surgical here, and what we're seeing is this area completely quietened down up here to a much more normal area. This patient was a completely different person.
Yeah. Back to a normal functioning human being, and her family, which were very disrupted by this behavior, could now get back to normal.
Great. Let's have a seat and we'll talk about, we're talking about this treatment. Basically, what are we talking about here in terms of this neuronavigation MRI-guided treatment?
Well, first, we would have to clarify that Sarah truly had some of the comorbid components, which it looks like are in strong display from everything we saw today. But we'd want to see it and on a functional MRI and see if there is something we can fix. Once we find it, we can now approach the exact region with X, Y, and Z coordinates, much like a Google map where you say, I want to go there. You can direct the TMS treatment, which is really a changing magnetic field focused on specific neurons, very accurately, and you can switch it off.
Okay, and let me translate some of this for you, because there has been a transcranial magnetic stimulation treatment that has been available for some time. What Dr. Jabbour and his team have done is they now use an MRI neural navigation to not just hit a portion of the brain, but they're able to actually go in to the actual sulcus where something may be residing, where there's hyperconnectivity or an absence of connectivity in a specific fold of the brain, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Tourette's is a syndrome that almost never, if ever, exists in isolation. There are components to it: OCD, depression, anxiety, ADHD. These things that there are known structures to. Oftentimes, if you begin to quiet these things down, then the motor tics, the vocal tics, become much less intense, much less frequent, and much less duration. But this is something that the minute I saw this case, I got in touch with Dr. Jabbour, because while there is no guarantee that this can help your daughter, there is no guarantee that this can eliminate or bring under control Tourette's, there is substantial evidence that this could help her in an appreciable way in terms of some of the component parts that define the Tourette's that you're living with. Dr. Jabbour has agreed to do the evaluation and to see if he can help your daughter, if you would like to pursue that.
Yes, thank you.
We want to give this girl some help.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we're switching gears. What do 49 million people have in common? I'll tell you when we come back. For the past few years, I have partnered with Feeding America, a great organization that has helped feed millions of individuals and families through food banks which provide free food to those in need. Take a look.
My name is Dan. I grew up in Boston, and I moved up here to Gloucester where I met my wife, Tam.
We have 3 children. He had a mole.
Turned out to be melanoma.
Yeah.
It's a 2-man team, and one's down. Where do you go from there? The food pantry is such an important resource. I just think it's important for people to know that it's there.
In 2007, the recession hit and we saw everything change.
Everything vanished.
Without a food bank, we would have a hard time. Said I'm thankful for food banks.
My name is Thomas.
My name is Krisha.
We have 2 children and 1 on the way.
I was planning on working while Tom was in school, but then my back went out completely. And then shortly after, I got pregnant.
Our local food bank was able to step in and help us out.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Well, joining me now are Bob Aikens, CEO of Feeding America, and Janet Lampkin, President of Bank of America California and board member of the Bank of America Charitable Foundation. So, guys, welcome. Bob, we were just looking at some of the things on tape, and unfortunately, these stories just are not that uncommon, right?
Oh, that's right, Dr. Phil. 49 million people in America are food insecure, which means they don't know where their next meal is coming from.
A little bit goes a long way with Feeding America. What's the average cost of a meal that you provide?
Well, you know, at Feeding America, much of the food we receive is donated. So for each dollar that we're able to raise, we can provide 10 meals to people who are at risk of hunger.
Yeah. That's what I mean. People say, you know, I don't have a lot to give, but every little bit helps. So tell us a little bit more about the Give a Meal program.
Well, the Give a Meal is a great program. We've been partners with Feed America for 5 years, but this program is a program where we will match for every $1 individual contribution, $2 from Bank of America. So as you can see with that leverage, it can go a long way.
That's a good one. So what impact did this program have last year?
We have done over 40 million meals with this program. It's our associate.
Well, we love that program, and we want to jumpstart this effort with a donation of $25,000 from the Dr. Phil Foundation. And so if we can, we'll offer that to you, and it's just so great.
And Dr. Phil, we very happily will match that with $50,000.
All right, that's what I wanted to hear. For those of you watching at home, you can go to drphil.com or bankofamerica.com/give to donate. You can also give $10 by texting FEED to 32333. Any donations for Give a Meal that you send to the Dr. Phil Foundation now through October 6th will be matched 2-to-1 by Bank of America. All right? So we're going to try to get up there with you. Guys, I'd like to thank all of my guests for being here today, especially Bob Aiken and Janet Lampkin. We'll see you next time. Guys, thanks so much. Thanks so much. Good job, guys. Appreciate it. All right, thanks, guys.